Alrighty, how's it going, Mets and overall baseball fans? Thank you guys all so much for chiming in for the latest post-game show here on WardyNYM, as we are the #1 post-game covering the Metropolitans all season long. And as you can see tonight, the Mets lose their second straight game and have faltered in this Chicago Cubs series, now dropping the series 2-0 and are going to try to avoid a series sweep to Chicago tomorrow, as they lost tonight by a final score of 4-2. We're going to be going down innings 1 through 9, what transpired in this ballgame, but it really wasn't a lot. If it wasn't Francisco Alvarez staying hot as one of the best catchers in the game right now, even at the age of 21, that's all she wrote for the Mets offense. You know, the Mets offense didn't have much yesterday after Tyler McGill didn't have a solid start. Gary Sanchez was putrid defensively. Now tonight, you see the ump was nothing more than a piece of you-know-what for not in the Mets' favor. And for the Chicago Cubs, got to give the tip of the cap. You know, of course, a guy who we all hate, us Mets fans, we all despise Marcus Stroman. Marcus I really appreciate as a pitcher when he was in New York, but it was his off-the-field personality, which is what rubbed all of us Mets fans the wrong way. And Marcus just shoved it up the Mets you-know-what tonight, going 8 strong, only allowing 2 earned runs, thanks to that Francisco Alvarez home run. So like I said, we have a lot to get into. I have a lot of raw thoughts on this. I have more complaints per usual on the lineup and expanding more on what was the Mets' downfall offensively tonight, pitching-wise. Kodai Senga, who was anything but sharp, but still managed to give the Mets 5 strong innings, which again, in hindsight, is not the reason why the Mets lost tonight. It was because of their offense through and through. But no less, we got a lot to get into. Shout out to my great sponsors at Mojo Sportsbook, that being at Mantis Sleep and, of course, so are MLB, but more on them later in the show. How's it going, everybody? Appreciate you all chiming in. I know we already got the doom and gloomers. I know we got people in the live chat spamming Fire Buck. I know we got people saying, oh, the Mets are horrendous. You know, I'm not going to sit here and act like the Mets, you know, didn't just win 5 straight games against 2 very solid teams for the most part. Yes, obviously losing the first 2 games here in Chicago and then this road trip sucks. And yes, you have to wonder if there's any correlation with the Mets from their home versus away, because they've been a much superior home team thus far this season than they have been on the road. Now, the Mets have played the most road games this season, if I'm not mistaken. They played the least amount of home games. But again, the Mets won 5 straight games at home at Citi Field. Now go out to Chicago. They have 2 straight stinkers in a row. Coincidence? I'm not sure. Kodai Senga as well. What was I saying heading into tonight's start? If you guys watched our podcast, Queen's Corner podcast yesterday, I may know that a key thing I was looking out for in Kodai Senga's start tonight would be how he would look on the road in Chicago for the first time. Kodai Senga at home thus far this season has just over a 1 ERA, but after tonight's start has an over 6 ERA on the road. Granted, it's small sample sizes, but just something to note that those are drastic road and home splits, and that's something that too needs to get rectified, along with this Mets offense that simply did not know how to handle their former friend, now foe, and Marcus Stroman. But again, more than anything, appreciate to have you guys all in here. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button as always. Thank you so much for the support. And again, you know, I'm not happy to be talking here. Yesterday, I didn't do my show. It wasn't because the Mets lost, just because of that. I was out all night last night been having some stuff going on in my life, so I was busy. And then by the time I got back home, I want to say it was at least the 7th inning. At the earliest, and we saw what happened with McGill yesterday. He didn't have his sharpest stuff. Gary Sanchez was anything but good, you know, on the defensive front. Offensively, of course, a strikeout machine that we all are accustomed and expected to. That's why Sanchez is not going to be on this team by the time Nito returns. I will actually be surprised if once Nito returns in the next, 5 days or so from his rehab stint, if Sanchez is still on this team. And yeah, Buster Olney, Andy Martino, I'm sorry to break it to you, but yeah, Francisco Alvarez is not going anywhere. If there's any positive again to come from tonight, was that Francisco Alvarez does not give a flying you-know-what who he's facing. His confidence is at an all-time high, and if it isn't for him, the Mets get shut out tonight, which would have been for 8th or 9th time already this season. So Alvarez, a 21-year-old catcher, the youngest player in baseball already, in my opinion, in the opinions of Anthony Recker. I know Reck's going to have more to say on Alvarez in our next podcast episode. Recker already believes that right now Alvarez is a top 7 catcher in baseball, and statistically, he's not wrong. So I'm excited to talk more on the Alvarez front. Yes, of course, he grounded into a double play that ended what would have been a nice rally there in the 8th. But again, if it wasn't for him, the Mets don't have any offense tonight. So it's like, you know, he gave us some and he took away some. I'm not going to complain much on that front. Look sharp defensively once again, but more than anything, I gotta say the biggest takeaway, J-Law, you know what I love about this? And this is what I'm gonna purposely do this just because I feel like it. There is this one guy, and I gotta give him credit, and he's gonna get the quick he's going to get the quick timeout. If you're wondering why he's going to get the quick timeout, shout out to J-Law for being the biggest troll imaginable. Has the audacity to come on here and just talk shit on the Mets anytime he gets a chance in the comments. But the funniest thing is that he claims to be a Braves fan, yet you see his PFP and he has a Yankees hat on. So, if that isn't what you would define as a schmuck, I don't know what is. And again, congrats to the Braves. Ozzie Albies got the walk-off for them tonight. I'm even surprised that the Braves have lost their past couple games the way that they have against the Dodgers. So, they avoid the series sweep. If it's not a 4-game set, I'm not too sure. But no less, the Braves win. That means very little to me. I'm focused on this Mets team right now because the reality is that the Mets, after being on what was a fantastic heater for 5 straight games, just did not have it these past 2 nights, and that in itself is concerning. The same issues that we've seen in recent when the Mets haven't performed well, we're seeing them full-fledged again. And the biggest thing for me to come out tonight, of course, has to be the Mets' lack of life against Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman came out tonight and had his game plan. We know how Marcus Stroman can be not a dominant pitcher, but really do well against opposing teams, and that is by getting those ground ball outs. Marcus Stroman had at least 13 ground ball outs, if not 14 tonight, maybe even 15, one of those, and he just absolutely killed the Mets. The Mets were not able to grind out at-bats whatsoever. Their first pitch swinging quite a bit against him, which was causing easy outs, easy ground ball outs, going to short to Swanson or going there to second and toss to first. Easy outs galore for Stroman, who easily could have still went 9 innings today if the Cubs really wanted to. He got pulled from tonight's game after going 8 innings, only allowing 2 earned run ball and pitching 88 pitches. He has a sub-3 ERA on the season. I'm not by any stretch upset that Stroman isn't a Met anymore. He's a talented pitcher. We all know that, but just not a guy that the Mets need in their clubhouse. When you talk about insecurities, there was nothing worse that I've seen over social media the past 2 years than a guy literally crying, deleting his tweets constantly, basically begging the Mets to have him return, and the Mets were like, no, we're not even going to give you money close to what you're looking for. And he goes from wanting a 5 to 7 year deal to signing a 3-year deal, I think around $70, $80 million or so with the Chicago Cubs, in which he's not going to win anything with them. They will be at best a 500 team, and that's okay. I think he even has an opt-out after this year, or maybe he has an opt-out after 30. I'm not too sure, but the point stands is that Marcus Stroman, as much as I might despise him as someone who used to love him as a fan, I loved him in Toronto. I loved him in his early goings with the Mets until it led to their departure when he was calling terrible things about Keith Hernandez and others in the organization. Just so petty. Talk about insecurities again. Height doesn't measure heart, a nice slogan, but seriously, he can't get out of his own way. But I will say this, as much as I might despise him, as much as the fan base might despise him, he had the perfect playbook against this Mets team, and he deserves credit. You even saw a lot of Mets fans out there on social media saying, this guy's acting like, they just won the World Series, and by they, talking about Marcus Stroman. But the reality is, oh wow, did Adam Frazier just hit a 3-run bomb against the Yanks to make it a 1-run ball game off of Nestor Cortez? Good thing I have Adam Frazier, my Sorare MLB team. If you know, you know. But one thing I will say again about the Mets tonight, and the whole Marcus Stroman front, is that this was a guy that had a recipe, and the Mets just did not know how to face him. They did not know how to match up. And you saw him get excited there, and as I was saying, fans were, saying, oh, he's acting like he won the World Series. Let's be realistic. Every Mets fan and their mother was cheering for Stroman every time he got juiced up after having a strong outing. I'm not going to go here and mock him after having a strong outing against the Mets because he deserves that right to be pumped up and juiced up. Now, do I like Stroman? Again, no, I don't. And I think he's a petty son of a bitch. I'm going to be honest, pardon my French. Doesn't change the fact that he was the better man in this matchup full through and through, and it pisses me off to say because, again, these Mets bats were absolutely lifeless if you were not named Francisco Alvarez. So let's get into it. Let's talk about this Mets ball game. Let's get through innings 1 through 9. I got a bit to say, but before I do, again, continue smashing that like and subscribe on if you guys are watching live or on replay. Everybody in the live chat as well, let me know, what is your biggest takeaway from this series loss, now defeat here to the Chicago Cubs? How disheartened are you? Do you think that this is just a little dry spell that the Mets will come out of shortly, as they, of course, have at least a 3-game set this weekend coming up against the Colorado Rockies? However you're feeling, make sure to let me know in the live chat. People in the comments down below on replay, the same applies. But a couple of health updates for you guys before we break down innings 1 through 9, because that'll be fairly quick. One, arguably the Mets' top pitching prospect right now, and Mr. Is it Mike Vasile? I want to say it's Mike Vasile. If I'm blanking, if I have the wrong first name, I apologize. I want to say it's Mike Vasile. He exited tonight's game in Double-A, unfortunately, and I'm not Not sure exactly what the status is, but Vasil, who's pitched to just over a 2 ERA thus far in AA with the Rummel Ponies, has been a high riser in the rankings, a guy that some Mets fans even believe could even make his Mets debut before the end of the season, or at absolute worst, sometimes next season as a high riser like David Pearson, who came all the way from AA to the bigs, like Tyler McGill, who won through AA and AAA, and then the bigs all in one season a couple years ago. Vasil has really strong stuff. However, he did exit the game early tonight due to injury, left with the athletic trainer. Again, I do not know the status on Vasil's front, so if we find that out, we'll talk about that the next day or so probably tomorrow's post-game show, win or lose. But just an update. Hopefully it's nothing serious with him, as again, one could argue, if not the best pitching prospect in the Mets minors right now, then definitely top 2 or 3. You know, you can make the argument for Blade Tidwell at number 1 still. Say if you're talking to Joe DeMayo, Joe would say that number 1. I kind of feel like Mike is getting to that point with his stuff. Tidwell is awesome, but he's more high risk, high reward. Vasil is really, really looking strong on it every fifth day basis right now. And then, of course, you have our good friend of the channel who we interviewed not long ago, and Dominic Hamill, who's doing great things in the Myers too. So just an update on the Vasil front. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but a couple other health updates regarding the catchers. Omar Narvaez will begin a rehab in single A tomorrow. I think he will be with the Brooklyn Cyclones in high A tomorrow, and he will be looking to make his Mets return in early June, so keep an eye out for that. And Nito is expected to return to the Mets in the next week, if not sooner. So just all the updates on that front. Yoshima, thank you so much for your donation. Dave, hey Jack, great members. Happy to have you guys all in here too. They're so much better than this play. We saw that over the weekend, so seeing them perform like this is so frustrating. Oh, it absolutely is. Don't get me wrong. And I think what's more frustrating is, I went on a whole rant. I went on a little tirade today on social media. If you guys follow me on Twitter, I even did a video of me driving. Of course, not looking at the phone while I'm driving, but just talking and rambling to you guys about the baby Mets and how much I want them to play every single day, regardless of slumps that they get in, because it's imperative to see what you have in them now and then give them enough of a leash to then know what you want to do by the time you get to the trade deadline. And it wasn't for a lack of effort with giving the kids a leash. Well, Mark Vientos yesterday went 0 for 2 in his first at-bat, struck out both times. I believe second time, though, had a better at-bat for sure. Then his third at-bat, Daniel Vogelback comes in to pinch hit, and he flies out on the warning track deep center, right? So Vogelback, of course, gets to start at DH today, which I was not in favor of. Vogie has one single and is one hit in his last 16 at-bats. And today, first at-bat, strikeout looking. Second at-bat, ground out. If that wasn't his third, Vogelback just has not looked good. He's not locked in at all right now. And you brought up Vientos for one reason and one reason only. That was to give him consecutive reps as a guy who on paper is arguably the best slugger in this organization after Alonso and Lindor. That's how much power and raw ability you have. And of course in Francisco Alvarez. But the point stands. Vientos has 11 home runs against right-handed pitchers that we saw in AAA this year. 13 total. Hit his 13th or 14th total home run this year first in the MLB this season against a righty. So further proof that you should not be platooning a guy like this. Give him ample opportunities. And again, if he struggles, if say he has 3 or 4 Ks a night, it is what it is. Alvarez was anything but good with the bat in his first 2 weeks this season. And now look at him. He's literally one of the best young players in baseball at the moment. So give these guys a leash. We know at most what we're going to get in Vogelback, and yet we're continuing to give him these same reps. And it's pissing me off a buck. It really is, because these are factors into winning and losing ball games. If it wasn't for Alvarez starting tonight, the Mets don't have any runs tonight. Who would have known what would have happened, say, if Vientos started? We're never going to know that now. Maybe he would have read Stroman well. Maybe he would have pulled in on the hands and ripped that out of the infield, unlike everyone else if you're not named Francisco Alvarez. So just food for thought. It's almost like if you start the kids on a night-to-night basis for at least a week to 2 spans straight, there's no harm that can come out of it. We've already seen in small sample sizes how well that has worked this far. Continue to let it roll. If it ain't broke, why fix it? And yet we're continuing to dabble with this lineup in ways that we shouldn't. And I swear to God, if we see both Pham and Vogelback in the lineup tomorrow, I'm going to lose my shit. I really am. And on top of that, Alvarez needs his ass. Like, pardon my French. I get feisty when the Mets lose, especially in games that they should be better at. We all know that. But Alvarez, on top of that, should not be in the 9th hole. He should at minimum be 7th, at worst 8th in this lineup right now with the way that he's batting. He is 2nd on this Mets roster in OPS right now. That is how good he has been. His slugging is through the roof, but I digress. Let's let's talk about this ball game, innings 1 through 9, real quick, so that way I can answer your comments for you guys. It starts off in the first with again, it's Kodai Senga on the bump today. Mastro Buoni, I think it is. Mastro Buoni has a walk. That's all she wrote. Kodai Senga walks were an issue once again. James McCann, he's on base, so he must have got a hit for the Orioles tonight. You know it's bad when McCann is on base, but it is what it is. Okay. I'm just saying that because I have the Yanks and Orioles game on, because Orioles have been a lot of fun to watch. I'm trying to watch them more when I'm not watching the Mets. But in the second, we see Suzuki there. Again, wins round 1 and wins basically every round against Kodai Senga tonight. Of course, they have familiarity with each other, friends from everything that I've heard during their time when they played in the MPB. And Suzuki had himself a walk today, a solid at bat too. It was a grinded out full count, hacked off a lot of foul pitches and got the walk. Then Talkman with a single and Morel with a strikeout. Morel, who has 9 home runs in 12 games entering tonight, also had 11 home runs in 24 games or so in AAA this year. This guy, I don't know what he's on, but he is looking like a juiced up mofo right now with his home runs. This is a guy that's only $145. It's insane. Morel, thankfully he didn't torch the Mets tonight, but the Cubs still got the win. So it's like, how much should that really matter, right? But in the third, as again, you see Senga get out of the jam there. Cano with a single. Alvarez then with the 2-run home run. And I do just want to say this. Canna, thankfully, he got that single. It poked it opposite field, because before that, when I tell you this ump was a piece of shit tonight, he called a strike call on Canna, a full 2 balls at minimum away from the plate. Actually horrendous. It wasn't even the only time that he had a call that bad tonight. He had multiple calls tonight on the Mets specifically where they were 2 full balls out of the zone, calling a clear strike. Like, what are we doing here? This is why MLB officiating will continue to be a joke. You never get consistency. So mix that with Marcus Stroman, again, knowing exactly how to pitch against these Mets batters, and there's the recipe. And again, it's funny how the only runs that Stroman gives up tonight are to a rookie that he's never faced before. This is what I mean. Stroman had a playbook against this Mets team, has a familiarity as a former Met, and knows this lot very well, and he had a lot of success tonight because of that reason. But Alvarez turned on one, as we just see there. The Orioles now take a 6-5 lead on the Yanks in the 7th. You'll love to see that. I think that was Gunnar Henderson. That's really nice too. But Alvarez, no less, rips his 6th home run of the season to make it a 2-0 Mets lead. Alvarez now, according to Michael Mayer of Metsmerize, is the 3rd youngest catcher in Major League Baseball history to hit 5 home runs in an 11-game span. The other 2, Johnny Bench, only one of the best catchers at every level, of course. Cincinnati Reds great, 20 years and 267 days of age. Darnell Porter at 21 years of age and 126 days. And now Francisco Alvarez at 21 years and 186 days. He has 5 home runs in 11 games. He's at the age of 21. My God, my goodness, my gracious, Francisco Alvarez is here to stay. Anything otherwise is hilarious. You can check out my previous comments at and with Buster Only, proving that he knows little to nothing, yet he's on a payroll with ESPN. Not surprising that that's the type of baseball production and value and analyst, type of stuff you're going to get from that program. But I digress a little bit more. Let's get back into breaking down this ball game, shall we? Because again, the Mets get that 2-0 lead thanks to Alvarez being an absolute stud. Then the third, Horner with a walk, Swanson with an opposite field double, as he does so well against this Mets team. Doesn't matter that he's not a Brave anymore. Swanson is locked in. He's one of the better shortstops in baseball, absolutely. He gets himself an opposite field double, and I'm pretty sure that scored a run. So it was a 2-run ball game after Swanson drove in the first run. Happened to strike out, but then Seiya Suzuki just misses a home run thanks to the wind blowing like crazy today. And it's an RBI double to tie the ball game. And then Talkman, the former Yankee no less, rips an RBI opposite field single, and it's a 3-2 Cubs lead here in the third. So the Mets only had a 2-0 lead for half an inning. Kodai Senga unfortunately gave it up right back, continuing to struggle with that control. And again, Senga at home, stellar this year. Away has just had his fair share of struggles. So the fact that Senga even came out of tonight's start only giving up 3 earned was honestly impressive given the jams that he put himself in. So hopefully that's something to build off of after looking like Houdini in his final 2 innings. But regardless, in the fourth, we see Alonso with an infield single, and then he was doubled up to end the inning. Beatty flew out to fairly shallow center, and Alonso, for whatever reason, was running there on that play. Dove to second base, easy toss to first, and that would double up to end the inning. In the bottom of the fourth, Mervis with a walk again, another consecutive inning in which Kodai Senga walks the first batter he sees. Barnhart gets himself a walk after being down in the count 0-2. Kodai Senga up in the count, you see there, 0-2, and somehow allows Barnhart to work out a walk there. Then Senga would get a balk somehow, and that causes runners to advance to second and third with no out. And somehow, some way, Harry Houdini, aka Kodai Senga, gets out of that jam unscathed with 2 runners in scoring position and no outs to still have it be a 1-run deficit. Then as we head to the 5th, Happ with a single, 2 outs, Morel with an infield single, there's 2 on, 2 out, and he again gets out of that jam. So Kodai Senga's final line today, folks, as you guys will see right here on the pitching stats, 5 innings for Kodai, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 walks, 6 strikeouts, a sub-4 ERA on the season. Again, not the outing that you would like to see from Kodai, especially after the Mets gave him an extra day's rest. It didn't help him all that much. Would Kodai have been better yesterday? Who knows? But at the end of the day, Kodai Senga was not the reason, was not the detriment to the Mets losing today. Rather, he was pretty much just a non-factor. He kept the Mets in the ballgame, you could even argue, because, again, this offense just did not have it if you were not named Francisco Alvarez. But as we advance in this ballgame, then, in the 6th inning, Alvarez with an infield single, his 2nd hit of the day. That's all she wrote, though. Then the bottom to 6, Drew Smith comes in. As much as I like Drew Smith in flashes, the one thing is certain, he still struggles with the home run ball, and that too is a problem. Nico Horner takes him deep to left, hammering against that wind without a problem. It's a 4-2 Cubs lead. Mastrobuno with a walk again, his 2nd of the night. Happ with a single, and that's all she wrote in the 6th. It's a 4-2 Cubs lead, and it would stay that way for the entirety of this ball game, because then we see there Raley, as you see from the numbers, a beautiful 1-2 inning with 2 strikeouts. Brooks Raley is really coming into his own over his past couple outings, and that's really nice because the Mets need some consistency from their lone southpaw in this pen. And who knows, maybe the Mets will add another lefty reliever to this pen internally or externally in the next couple months. But as we get to the 8th, then Marte with a walk and a stolen base. Now is important because Daniel Vogelbach, if Marte did not steal his 13th bag of the year there, Daniel Vogelbach would have had himself doubled up in his 3rd and final at-bat tonight, because Vogie has been anything but good, as you see from the offensive numbers tonight too. Vogelbach grounds out to shift the runner Marte to 3rd with only 1 out. Canna would a walk, and then unfortunately, after a pep talk with his pitching coach, Marcus Stroman works a double play from Francisco Alvarez, the rookie, to end the inning unscathed. Then as we get to the 9th, you get a nice outing there, as we saw from Jeff Brigham, as you saw from the stats. 1 inning, a clean, 1-2-3 with 1 strikeout, but the Mets just could not get anything done, and Mark Leiter Jr. gets the save there in the 9th, in which he has now a 1.77 ERA on the year for Mark Leiter Jr. And that's all she wrote, guys. Again, look at the offense tonight. Actually pathetic. You got yourself a total of 4 hits tonight and expected 204 batting average. Just not good. I know the win sucked. I know it wasn't pretty out there in Chicago tonight, but there's still little excuses, okay? You know the game plan against Marcus Stroman. A lot of the batters in this lineup know Stroman very well, and they just let him do exactly what he does. He was able to cook on this Mets team, and they just had no answer. You know that he's looking for those early swings. You know that he's looking for those soft ground outs in the infield. And yet, it's like the Mets, they couldn't help themselves from trying to barrel stuff that was in the strike zone. But that is what Stroman does so well when he is on. He keeps the stuff in the strike zone, but he's picking his corners, bottom right, bottom left, and he's having you pull the baseball if you're Jeff McNeil. Or on the other end, if you're Say Alonso, the same applies. Like, just frustrating stuff that we saw from this Mets lineup tonight that needs to change, because the Mets have a real tall task tomorrow with Carlos Carrasco on the mound. Yes, Jameson Taillon is pitching, who has not been good. Him and Carrasco alike both have over 8-year rate this season. The Mets really want Jameson Taillon in the offseason too, so thankfully everything happens for a reason. The same way that the Mets want Steven Matz so bad an offseason ago prior, and Matz has been anything but good. The fact that he's still in the league is surprising with how bad he's been on every 5th-day basis. But you're possibly going to have a shit show pitching tomorrow and Carrasco and Taillon, or it's going to be pitchers galore, because you know that's baseball, right? But one thing's certain, with Cookie almost a lock to not have a strong outing tomorrow until proven otherwise, the Mets bats need to step up. We need Mark Vientos starting. Just see what you can get from him. Doesn't hurt. And just go from there. That's all we're asking. Give the kids a leash. Give them starts. That's all I'm asking, Buck. I know it feels like I'm asking for too much, but you should know by now that these kids are factors into success, and Daniel Vogelbach, who's nothing more than a walks merchant at this point right now, is not going to help you. And again, I'm not even a Vogelbach hater. Normally, I wouldn't criticize him as much, but when you have potential better options, high risk, high reward options on your bench right now that you called up specifically for the sole purpose of seeing if he can bring life to this offense, give you more home run power, then give him a damn leash. It's as simple as that. I shouldn't have to keep bringing it up, and yet I am somehow, some way. So, why does our hitting coach still have a job? That's another good question. With the ebbs and flows of this Mets offense, it's a fair argument that if the Mets really go Jekyll and Hyde throughout the year, like if it's one of those things where, you have a 5-game win streak, but then you save a 3 or 4-game lose streak, like on and off, should that happen, then you have yourself a fair argument that I can't disagree with there. So we'll see on the hitting coach front. Again, I've been excited. Oh my God, the Orioles just stole a run on a shallow sac fly. That's hilarious. 7-5 Orioles now at the top of the 7th. Yanks fans not having a good time. I'm sure that guy that was chiming in earlier with the Yanks hat, who's a so-called Braves fan, is not having a good time either. You hate to see that. I don't know what I was just rambling on, but I did want to read this comment from George. George Zamudio, thank you so much for chiming in. Says, Wardy, I live in Chicago. I'm headed to tomorrow night game, and seems like a loss already having Cookie pitch tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, I'm not encouraged if I'm going to a Cookie start either. So, yeah, I wish you the best. I'm hoping that's a warmer night tomorrow. Oddly enough, the Mets have a night game tomorrow for their series finale. You never see that happen as well. As we take a look at tomorrow's schedule, it's a 7:40 game tomorrow in Chicago. And then right after, it's an 8:40 game on Friday in Colorado. A lot of night games. Part of my cough there. So it's 7:40 in Chicago, then it's 8:40 in Colorado Friday, 9:10 Saturday night, and then 3:10 on Sunday, and then they have an off day on Monday before they start their Philly series. So, yeah, I want to see more from this Mets offense, and I want to see the kids get a leash. Discouraged to see how the offense produced tonight. But again, I'm not going to sit here and act like, the sky's falling. I'm appreciative of the run that they just had over those 5 straight games, but now they need to be able to combat it, especially against a vulnerable Cubs team. This Cubs team is solid, but they're going to be nothing more than a 500 club this year. And I feel very strongly in saying that they will be below 500 for the season. So again, it's almost like, as we said earlier, the Mets just have a knack for playing the same way against and now 8-5 Orioles. Holy shit, they torched it here in the 7th. Love to see that. But it's crazy how, as I said earlier, when the Mets had such a bad month, it's like this team plays down to their competition. You're continuing to see it, right? They played the Tampa Bay Rays when they were on all-time heater, and they take 2 or 3 from the Rays, right? Electric fashion. The Guardians, who, again, the Guardians have been around a 500 club, they sweep. All tight games, all one run, but it's almost like being at home, the Mets had that juice from the fans as well. They're not getting that on the road. I like that they thrive with those big spots and the momentum we've been seeing, but they need to do it against lesser opponents, and the Cubs are certainly one of them. Not a slight on them. They were the better team the past 24 hours, but the point still stands. What also stands, guys, is that we have a great sponsor here on the channel, and my good friends that many of you guys know, especially if you are New Jersey residents, and that, of course, is my good friends at Mojo Sportsbook. Just to tell you guys real quick about Mojo Sportsbook, for those that aren't aware, this is, again, for Jersey residents only. They're going to be legal in all states sooner than later, I promise you, but for now, they're strictly in Jersey. So to all my Jersey Mets fans out there, tell you briefly about my good friends at Mojo Sportsbook. They are the live betting stock market that's operating in New Jersey. Every bet on Mojo offers live trading so you can get in and get out all game long. It's stock trading meets sports betting with money lines, player props, and a whole new career-long bet they've created. And something that I really appreciate about Mojo Sportsbook especially is that they are a sportsbook that gives you great odds on your cash out, something that you do not get from other mainstream sportsbooks currently. You have full control of your bets. Cash in when you're up and cash out if it's going bad. Mojo's cash outs are available way more than any other sportsbook. So all you got to do is download the app now, guys, and use my promo code WardyNYM for a 20% deposit match up to $100. Again, that is promo code WardyNYM for a 20% deposit match up to $100. Shout out to Mojo Sportsbook for being a great sponsor on the channel. And one more thing that I gotta say that I love about this product, it's so unique. So the same way that you maybe do day trading, or you want to hold your stock for long, if you do, you're investing stock but into players. So like Francisco Alvarez, you can invest stock on him right now around $30+ at the moment, or you can do player props daily. Kodai Senga, for instance, should he have gone over 6.5 Ks, he ended today with 6 Ks, which honestly was a little surprising, even with even with it only being 5 innings, that he was able to get the 6 Ks. But if you went over on the 6.5 today, the odds were at -112 for exactly 53 cents. So you get a lot. So if say you put down 100 and that prop hit today, you would have came out with almost double at around 189 in your total that you're getting. So I love the player props aspect too. Again, shout out to Mojo Sportsbook that we'll be talking about plenty here on the channel for all my Jersey residents. Make sure to click that link in the live chat in the description down below and the comments below for people on replay. Shout out to them once more. But let's get back into talking about this Mets game and this Mets series overall, because again, my biggest takeaway is, yes, you haven't had the sharpest pitching, especially in game 1. Yes, you didn't have the sharpest pitching today either, but the offense just needs to be better. You know, it's as simple as that. We know what this team is capable of. We've seen these flashes of life, and wasn't last week so much fun? We were all at an all-time high as Mets fans, riding a heater, and something that I felt like that we got so little last year was not getting any long winning streaks. How many times did the Mets have a 5-game winning streak last year? It felt very rare. If they won anything over 5 games, that was almost impossible too. So I have a feeling that based on how the Mets have been performing this far, it really feels like that they're going to be more of a streakier club, right? You know, you're going to have your lows and you're going to have your highs. I just hope that when they have their hot streaks, that their hot streaks exceed what they were last season, because the Mets were very consistent last year up until the final month and a half of baseball. But they were winning series, which was great, but it's like they weren't able to get on any of those prolonged win streaks. I'm not asking them to win 13 straight the way that the Braves did when they were on their heater last summer. But what I am asking for is, again, hopefully we see more of these streaks continue, and hopefully they start tomorrow. Again, you're facing Tyone tomorrow in the Cubs. Then you're out there in Colorado. Then you have an off day, and then you have 3 games against a Phillies team that has been very vulnerable this season. Not asking you to win every game, but you should be winning this series. So the fact that the Mets, again, drop a series to this Cubs team is disheartening. You want to see something better, and hopefully they get life. Hopefully they get a fire under their ass starting tomorrow. Playoff. Here's a funny thing too. Any Mets fan who thinks the Mets don't have a chance at playoffs, I don't know what you're smoking, right? The Mets are still well within reach of the division too, and honestly far more within reach than you would think that they were for playing dog shit baseball for a month. So playoffs are the least of my concerns right now. It's really just about making sure that this Mets team gets in a rhythm. And I did want to make a note, because I'm seeing people comment this in the live chat too. Ronnie Mauricio, right? Ronnie has continued to kill it in AAA. He still leads all minor leagues, if I'm not mistaken, in hits right now. And it doesn't matter if it's single A, double A, triple A. He leads all the minor leagues in that category. He's a slug of God at the moment. And Keith Hernandez made a great point on the broadcast tonight for SNY with Gary in the booth, and saying, you know, the Mets, they have 3 of their 4, but, you know, you're still missing that one. So it seems like Keith is a heavy proponent of Ronnie. I too would love to see Ronnie in this lap. Put him at second base. Put Jeff in left field and get cooking. I mean, Canna isn't giving you any exciting at bats right now either. Canna would probably be best suit off the bench to see if he can give you production there. But when you're talking about the most potential boom or bust offense, that's what you would be getting should you give Ronnie that call up sooner or later. I don't know when that call for Ronnie is going to happen, because, again, the Mets need to give Vientos consistent reps at DH as is. And if they're not doing that yet, then I feel less than confident that they're going to bring up Mauricio soon and give him daily reps, right? But it's something to be said that we initially headed into this season with little expectation that the Mets would have anyone more than just one prospect on this roster to start the year, that being a Brett Beatty. And he didn't even start the year on the roster, right? Escobar, of course, had his horrendous start, which warranted the Beatty call-up. But, you know, we're not even in the month of June yet. You have Beatty, Vientos, and Alvarez all on this team, all being productive for the most part, right? The fact that we could have 4 within the next month is actually insane. But again, that's a credit to how well these guys started the year in AAA, and a credit to their immediate impact that they're having at the MLB level. Mauricio's interesting. He's that wild card because he's not a walks machine. He's the opposite of Vogelback in that sense. Mauricio gives me a lot of Ahmad Rosario vibes. Rosario, of course, was a top prospect in the game back in the day. Big swing and miss, barreling baseballs like crazy, had some defensive miscues at short. However, again, high contact guy, can hit the ball out of the park, speedster as well, but just didn't take any walks. And Rosario still to this day does not walk much at all. That hasn't changed much about his game. But when this Mets team is right, they're going to have guys that will be able to be those facilitators, those plate setters, getting on base at a solid clip. And that's where Mauricio, who is so boom or bust in the sense that he's either going to hit or he's not going to hit, right? You know, you're not going to get much walks from him. That could be huge, especially as a switch hitter who thrives mostly from the left side of the plate. Has still needs more development from the right side of the plate for sure. A guy that, you know, right now wouldn't even shock me if he becomes mainly lefty, but especially from the left side of the plate has absolutely been torching baseballs, can hit for opposite field, a lot of power there. His growth spurt over the past year plus has been insane. So, and he has a very strong glove there in that infield. So see Mauricio at second, seeing Jeff, who can play a more than competent left field. McNeil's a Gold Glover in any position that he plays, and that's the whole hard truth from what we've seen in recent years. And then you have Beatty at the hot corner. Alvarez, who's looking so damn good at the backstop, and then Vientos give him his reps at DH. Again, it's crazy. It is so crazy that we are talking about this early into the season still. But again, the Mets have already given this willingness and this leash to the kids. So do it more. Do what is going to impact this Mets team most right now. And one more thing, as I said before, and I'll say again, see what you have in the kids now while it's early versus waiting until post-trade deadline where you sit on your hands, you don't make proper moves, you know, aka 2022 Mets, right? And then you bank on the kids when they didn't have experience. That's why I'm even a heavier proponent of Mauricio being called up earlier this season versus post-trade deadline to see what you have, because if you wait till post-trade deadline, you don't know what you're going to get. We saw Alvarez, again, even though he's dealing with an ankle injury, and Beatty and Vientos, all those guys gave little production to the Mets last year when they were called up. Why? Because they didn't know what to expect at the MLB level. They had nervous jitters. Takes development. They're still very young. Now that they were all brought up again this year after having that taste last year, did them wonders. So again, you know Mauricio's going to have nervous jitters. Bring him up sooner than later because he's proving everything and then some at the AAA level. Just to expand shortly on Mauricio before we get closer to wrapping things up, guys, I want to tell you his stats right now because they are actually ridiculous. And I'm not just talking about Mauricio right now because the Mets lost tonight. I'm talking about him. I've been talking about him for the past couple of weeks, as has Joe and Rec, my co-host for the Queen's Corner podcast, that you guys know. They love Mauricio. My hat is signed by Ronnie Mauricio. You probably can't see it. He signed the inside of this when I met him at spring training this year. But let's just talk about Ronnie Mauricio's stats here for 1 minute. Again, I think the vets on this team can still be productive in spurts, just not consistently. Not enough where it's warranted a Buck giving them the certain reps that they're giving them, right? So Ronnie Mauricio in just under 200 at-bats this season. And we're looking at, how many games is this? Let me click his stats. I don't know if it's going to update for me. I don't know how many games it is, but okay. Okay, eBay, thank you for the stupid ad. Didn't ask for that. Okay, just under 200 at-bats. Ronnie has 34 runs scored, 68 hits leading all minor leagues, 7 home runs, 33 RBIs, 9 stolen bags, a 351 average, a roughly 400 OBP, and a 976 OPS for Ronnie Mauricio in his age 22 season. This guy's the same age as me. He's listed as 6'3", 166 right now. I feel he's bigger than 166. There is no shot in hell he is 166. And the reason why I say that is because I am like a foot shorter than him, and I sit 160. There is just no possible way he's 166. Ronnie has to be at least like 180. So he's absolutely yoked. This guy is nuts. And I really think that Ronnie is the next man up, and hopefully sooner rather than later. Oh my God, wait, Ronnie's a year younger than me. He was born in 2001. I was born in 2000. That's insane. Oh my God. You know, it's like, I already feel bad about, you know, me not doing much with my life besides talking to you guys. And then I see Alvarez, who's 21. I'm fanboying over him when he's younger. I'm sure that's how all you seasoned fans feel, right? Feels a little weird. This is like my first adjustment to being a fan of people who are younger than me. It's hard. With hockey, I've had it for a while because hockey, you see guys get up as soon as they're 18. Not as much in baseball, though. This is weird. Jesus. Yeah, 6'3", 166. There's no chance. There's literally no. He has to be at least 180. At minimum 180. Because when I saw him, when I met him in person, he did not look like a twig. Like, he's broad. He has muscle on him. Yeah, there's no shot. No, not a chance in hell. Beatty's a month younger than me. How do you think I feel? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Beatty and I are the same age. He's actually just a little bit older than me, because I'm not 23 yet. Still got a couple months to go. But that's absurd. Let me be right back. Give me 1 second, guys. But guys, you know the drill. We're getting towards the end of the show. He put on weight. Yeah, he put on a lot of weight over the past year. He did, and a good weight though too, like proper weight to fill in his body. He's absolutely yoked right now. But guys, before we get out of here, of course, I have to tell you about our awesome, great sponsor at Manta Sleep. All you guys know Manta Sleep by now if you've been following the channel, but when I tell you that these are the best sleep masks on the market, I mean it. I'm not just juicing them up because they are a great sponsor on the channel. I brought them on as a sponsor after using their product for over 2 weeks. Just because of how much I enjoyed it. As someone who never thoroughly enjoyed sleep masks before, I slipped this bad boy on, especially after a late night covering the Mets late tonight. I need my Manta Sleep Mask Pro, their best seller, one of the best sleep masks out there on the market. Slip this bad boy on, so comfortable. There's no light shining in my eye in the morning. Again, nice deep sleep. Doesn't matter where I am either. You know, it doesn't matter if you're in a setting where, you know, there's a lot of light or none. Slip this bad boy on, and it's going to do your wonders. Why? Because Manta Sleep, again, the best sleep mask on the market. Look how happy this woman is. If you're not happy as her, then by all means, return your product because there's no chance that's happening, right? We've had many of you guys, great members, followers on the channel that have already purchased Manta Sleep checking out their Manta masks, of course, clicking my link in the description and using my promo code WARDY for 10% off your purchase. But they have a Bluetooth, they have a sound mask where you can play, I don't know, you want to play Slipknot, you want to play some opera, you want to play some Frank Sinatra, you want to play some DaBaby, whatever you want to play at night, during the day, when you're on an airplane, when you're trying to get out of turbulence, not listen to that. When you want to lock in, you can have some nice soothing wails if you want to listen to whatever you want. That's what you get with your sound mask in any setting to really lock out any external noise and just focus on you being comfortable and getting your sleep or just comfort even. As you see here, this is a Manta Sleep Mask Pro that I have, but the other ones that have raving reviews, of course, are the Manta weighted mask on your face. If you want a nice cool mask with these hot summer nights coming up, you want to go to bed cool at night around your face, you get the Manta cool mask, which again gives you coolant around your eyes. On the flip end, if you want to say have a nice warm night around your eye sockets, especially during the winter, if you live out on the East Coast especially, that's where the Manta Steam Mask comes into play. That actually gives you steam around your eyes. Again, all your Manta mask needs is what you do. And it says where you don't use this, I use it every single night, Patrick. Little do you know, I literally would not have brought them on because I get sponsor offers every single week, and I've only brought on specific ones on the channel for products I thoroughly enjoy, and they are one of the few that I thoroughly enjoy. I've had other products that have been sent to me. I'm like, I'm not doing a deal with you. I'm sorry, I don't enjoy your product. This one I thoroughly do, and that's why you guys need to make sure to, again, click the link in the description. Use my promo code WARDY for 10% off your purchase. And thank you so much again for checking out Manta Sleep Mask, as many of you guys have sent my way. I've heard most raving reviews I've heard from you followers that have sent me your purchases that you guys have done has been the Bluetooth mask. I've heard most about that. I don't have the Bluetooth mask in my possession yet. I still need to get the Bluetooth mask. I need to get the cool mask. But I've had this bad boy. It's been doing wonders on me. And my brother and his beloved wife, they even got themselves ones and are loving them too, as they just did a long flight. They did a long flight out to Europe not long ago, so they're enjoying it as well. So a lot of positives with the Manta Sleep Mask, and again, shout out to them for being a great sponsor on the channel. But with that being said, guys, I got to get out of here because I need some sleep. I need some beauty sleep, and I need to use. So I'm gonna slip it on now. Who cares, right? Let's slip on the beautiful Manta Sleep Mask Pro. And just like that, guys, I'm going to go. See, look how comfortable it is. I got to go to bed. I got to get shut-eyed. This team frustrated me enough the past 24 hours. Hopefully it doesn't anymore. But, guys, you know the drill. You will see your boy Wardy tomorrow night, more than likely. Win or lose. If anything changes for whatever reason, I will keep you guys updated on the community tab. But as of now, we will be live tomorrow, probably around the same time, 10:30, whenever the game ends. Win or lose. Hopefully the Mets bounce back, start to get on a roll again, and ride high before they head, again, into a place where you, too, can get high, depending on what you're talking about. There, of course, not only in the altitude, but there in Colorado against those Rockies. So again, shout out to all you guys for watching live on replay. This is your boy Wardy signing out. And no matter what, let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.